You know, Silent Night has one of the most recognizable Christmas melodies there are. Most everyone knows all the words to it, at least the first two verses. That's usually what people sing over and over again when caroling. The small chapel that we see right here that's built on an octagon is the Silent Night Chapel in Oberndorf, Australia. It's the famous Christmas Carol chapel where it was first sung in the St. Nicholas Church in Oberndorf in December 24th, Christmas Eve, 1818. On Christmas Eve in 1818, two men with a small guitar entered a church in Oberndorf, Austria, and prepared to sing a new Christmas carol. Times had been bad in Oberndorf, where many people worked on the water, manning the salt barges that plied the Salzach River. The upheaval in Central Europe caused by the Napoleonic Wars had just ended. And only 2 years before, the dreadful dark summer of 1816, later blamed on ash from a volcanic eruption in Indonesia, had caused famine and deprivation. I've shown you pictures of this exact moment in the one that had about UFOs. But in that fall of 1816, a young Catholic priest named Joseph Mayer had written a 6-verse Christmas song, or a poem, that began Still Night, Heilig Night, which means Silent Night, Holy Night in German, about the nativity of a curly-haired Jesus. 2 years later, Father Moore enlisted a friend, Franz Xavier Gruber, a local school teacher and musician, to come up with a melody for the poem that he could be played for Christmas on the guitar. Legend has it that the church organ had been damaged by mice and water and was on the blink. Gruber's composition is thought to have taken about a day. Now, as the two men put the words to music on that Thursday, 200 years ago in Oberndorf St. Nicholas Church, they voiced for the first time what is probably history's most enduring and beloved Christmas carol, Silent Night, Holy Night. All is calm, all is bright. That's the stained glass that's actually in the cathedral itself. It's such a part of the general soundscape of Christmas, said Sarah Airley, assistant professor of musicology and director of the early music program at Florida State University College of Music. Oftentimes when songs are composed by people in times of great stress, there's something quite human about them, she said, and that often resonates with people outside of that particular geographic location or culture or time period. Much like you would say that maybe the Star-Spangled Banner was, and how it was through a time of extreme strife. Now, since 1818, Silent Night has been translated from German into hundreds of languages. There are about a dozen different translations just in English alone, with an 1850s version the most widely accepted, Airley said. The carol has spawned TV shows, a cartoon, a documentary. On the Western Front in 1914, during World War I, it was sung during the spontaneous Christmas truce between the Allied and German soldiers who had been slaughtering each other only hours before. It's been formed by rap musicians, Bing Crosby himself and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. There's a gospel and heavy metal version, yet it's the intimacy of the words, the scene, and the music for the small parlor guitar that has soothed listeners for 2 centuries. Moore was a guitarist, Everly says. Guitar is a much more approachable folk instrument than an organ, and for a song like this style, it would be much more common to play it on a plucked string instrument like a guitar, or perhaps a harp or a lyre. The 2 men probably sang it as a duet, with Moore playing the a la Simon and Garfunkel, who did a haunting version in 1966 called 7 O'Clock News, Silent Night. In that version, the carol is sung to a piano over the background of a grim 1960s newscast. I thought about playing that over the back of this, but I thought it to be a little too noisy, and this rendition here of a solo man was a little bit better. Why Moore didn't just write the melody himself is a mystery. He was really gifted violinist and guitarist, Everly said, but Gruber chose a special musical style called Siciliana for the melody, she said. It's an Italian song that was really popular in the 17th and 18th century. It's meant to mimic the sound of water or babbling brooks, and it's associated with gondoliers in Venice or Italian fishermen. But why that style? Well, I really think that it's because most of the congregation that were listening that evening were workers on the river, she said. They were either ship captains or ship workers. I can't prove this, but this is my analysis of the piece, that it mirrored the soundscape and the water and the links of the people's daily lives. Carol spread quickly across Europe. It was brought to the United States, where some accounts say it was first performed on Christmas Day in 1839 in the churchyard of New York's Trinity Church on Wall Street by a troupe of traveling Austrians known as the Rainier Singers, which are very much like the family from The Sound of Music. Here's the sheet music that you can find to this day at the Salzburg Museum. The carol was translated into English in the 1850s by an Episcopal priest at Trinity, John Freeman Young. He published it in a book of Christmas carols in 1859. He translated the first, third, and sixth verses and did a fairly good job given the literal German of the song, Everly says. The original verse goes, and I'm not going to try to speak this German here, but when it roughly translates into English, it comes out to be something along the term of Silent Night, Holy Night, or Still Night, Holy Night. Everything is asleep. Only the faithful holy couple are awake, alone. Lovely boy with curly hair, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. And Young smoothed it into the classic Silent Night, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright, with the rhyme. Round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Young dispensed with Jesus' curly hair, though, and added the folksy yon and called the child tender and mild. Along with the carol, Moore's elegant six-string guitar has also endured for 2 centuries. According to the Silent Night Association, for a time it hung in a tavern, and later, during World War II, it was sheltered in a salt mine to protect it during the war. It was brought to the United States along with an early manuscript of the carol in the 1960s and became back for a cross-country tour during the bicentennial in 1976 of the United States, our 200-year anniversary here. It's now reportedly on display at the Silent Night Museum in Hallien, Austria, on the Salzach River, about 20 miles north of Oberndorf. And you can also still go to the chapel that was there, that this originally happened at nearly 200 years ago. Merry Christmas and the best to you and yours through this holiday season. I know I don't believe in the Bible and things like that, but that doesn't mean that we can't wish the best for everyone. For it's not like if we never had it that we wouldn't have these same feelings. Peace.